Hi, welcome to the part 2 of the session on planning. In the previous session, we discussed the 10 steps to plan for the entire year. In step 1, we discussed about how do you define goals and objectives for the program in a school, or if a goal is already defined, objective is already defined, how do you map the program with this. In step 2, we learned about how do we plan for the student assessment needs and interest. In step 3, we learned about how to plan or develop or follow a curriculum framework. In step 4, we learned how to plan the implementation of the curriculum for the entire year. Step 5, we discussed about how do we organize resources and facilities available in the school premises to implement the curriculum for the entire year. In step 6, we learned how to plan for the assessment for the entire year. Step 4, we learned about the different events and how do we plan those events in the entire year. In step 8, we discussed how do we engage community for the overall development of the program. Step 9, we learned how to plan for the professional development of self and also for the team members. And step 10, we learned about how do we plan for the feedback and quality monitoring of the entire program. So, out of these 10 steps, there are certain steps which are core deliverable of a PE teacher. For example, define goals and objectives. Either you define, but most of the time it is already defined by the school. You map your program to the goal of the school objectives. But step 3, develop or follow a curriculum, is something that a PE teacher is actively involved in. Like I mentioned in the previous session, most of the times a curriculum is already there in the school, so you need not develop a curriculum, or you follow a curriculum by different boards like CBSE, ICSE, depending on the school board. So this is something that you are actively involved as a PE teacher to follow a curriculum framework. Then another very important part is plan for the execution of the curriculum. For the entire year, you need to plan how do you want to execute the curriculum. The other very important part where a PE teacher plays a very important part is planning for the assessment and evaluation of physical education program. The other one is plan events and competitions for the year. So, we have a dedicated session for assessments. We have a dedicated session for planning, and in this session we will be discussing how do we plan for events and competitions. So, this session will be dedicated to planning for events and competitions. In the previous chapter, we learned how do we allocate different months for each of these steps, or how do we implement the entire curriculum during the year. If you notice here, we have also dedicated time for assessment, we have also dedicated time for events as well, intramural, inter-school competitions, these are all the events, and there will be sports day somewhere, there will be other events, sporting events somewhere. So, the entire year is already prepared. Now, we need to understand how do we plan to deliver these events. So, let us understand which all are the most important sporting event in a school setup. Sports day, which is the annual sports day, is one of the most important event in a school. Apart from that, the others include intramural tournaments, extramural tournaments, Independence Day, Republic Day celebrations, Father's Day, Mother's Day, Grandparents' Day and Children's Day celebrations, summer camp and winter camp. These are the events which are led by the PE teacher. As a PE teacher in the school, you are expected to lead this, guide the other teachers and school also in executing these events. But one of the events which is not a part of this list and which is very important in every school that happens is school assembly. This is the shortest event in a school and this is a recurring event. So let us understand how a school assembly is conducted. Again, whenever there is a large gathering, whenever there is a requirement of crowd management or a discipline to say, right, PE teacher is expected to lead. So let us understand first what is school assembly and why school assembly is important. There is no specific purpose for a school assembly, but the school assembly can be used for a number of things. School assembly can be used for different purposes. Right? It can be used for updates, announcement, prize distribution. It can be used to express or reinforce code of conduct expected both from teachers or from students. It can also help foster or help students better their public speaking, showcase drama, skate on a different topic and different themes. Right? It can help actually it can help students gain self-confidence and connect with peers. Even the National Curriculum Framework emphasizes on integrating different activities during the school assembly. Other activities could also be added, for example, during the assembly, like singing together, listening to a story, inviting a person from a local community or a chief guest to have a guest lecture. Right? One can do a lot of discussions or sharing of experiences during the assembly. So, our National Curriculum Framework encourages schools to integrate different activities during the assembly. So, assembly is expected to be led or conducted by a PE teacher. Even the National Curriculum Framework emphasizes on integrating different activities to the morning assembly. For example, assembly can be used as a platform for students to showcase their talent, to tell a story, to perform group singing. Right? It can also be used to convey a message through a small skit or a small drama. Assembly can also be made interesting by inviting local speakers. It could be chief guest, it could be some famous personalities, or assembly can be used to convey some message or as a just the everyday news bulletin as well. So, planning for an assembly, which is again a core part of a school PE teacher. When you plan an assembly or any event, for example, okay, you actually follow 3 steps. Right? One is before the event, 2 during the event, and number 3 after the event. So, there are set of activities that you are supposed to plan prior to the assembly, during the assembly, and after the assembly. So, let us talk about prior to the assembly. Prior to the assembly, definitely you need to have a specific time slot and you need to have a flow of events also, flow of activities or events which we can call as agenda for the entire, which can be an agenda for the assembly. So, if you see here, this assembly is only for 15 minutes, right, and you start at 7:45, you assemble, then you start morning prayer, address by principal, daily news update, then there is a theme based activity you do, then there is national anthem and you disperse. This is an indicative flow of an assembly. It can be different from different schools. This is a standard flow of events in a short assembly. So let us understand tasks before the assembly. What are the tasks that you are supposed to perform before the assembly? Assembly is always conducted in an open space, so the area is already well defined, area is already allocated, but a PE teacher is expected to at least plan for the entry and exit of the crowd, or how the students should move before and after the assembly. This can be done during the PE classes also. So PE teacher can help other teachers execute a skit or a play or a theme of the assembly. Every assembly is dedicated to different themes. It could be a theme on science or maths or geography, history, or it could be even physical education and sports. You as a physical education teacher, if you are to conduct an assembly on physical education and sports, these are some of the things that you need to take care of prior to the assembly day. The first is choose a theme for the assembly and get an approval from the principal. The theme could be, the importance of warming up before any physical activities, the importance of hydration during summertime, the importance of proper rest or importance of proper diet. So these are some of the the topics related to health and physical education that you can choose, and you can either perform a skit on it, or you can have a group of students talking about it during the assembly. The most important is that you discuss this and get an approval from the school management before actually you conduct this during the assembly. The other important part is to identify students, those who will be performing during the assembly. It is always important that you find students, different students in different occasions. It should not be the same group of students doing the same, performing in the assembly all the time. Once the students are identified, definitely you need to practice at least for a week, or enough practice, before you actually perform it in front of everyone. You can always take help from different teachers as well. Class teachers can also be involved. They can also help you, in execution of the theme that you wish to do it during the assembly. So these are some of the activities to be kept in mind during the assembly. Regardless of the assembly, the theme of the assembly is on physical education and sports or not, these are some of the things that you as a PE teacher can actually lead or expected to lead during the school assemblies. One definitely is, readiness of the activities that the students are about to carry. Whether the students are ready or not, or the activities, whether the place allocated for the activities is ready or not, is something that you need to ensure prior to assembly. The other one is, since the assembly is a large gathering, you need to have a proper audio system or a proper public address system. The equipment should all be, thoroughly checked. I'm sure you as a PE teacher who will not be, doing all the technical side of this, but you need to ensure with the help of the technical team that these are all in place and ready to be used. If any special guests are coming, right, you are expected to welcome them along with the principal and get these things ready. Very important is to make provisions for first aid and medical emergencies. Tasks during the assembly. Again, very important things to keep in mind, that you don't conduct assembly during bad weather, and bad weather, by bad weather I mean extreme heat or extreme cold, or if it is a rainy day, you don't do it outdoors, you do indoors. If there is a provision for indoor assembly, you do it indoors, and you don't do it outdoors at all. So it's very important that you anticipate or you understand the weather, then you decide on the assembly, whether it is to be conducted or not. You must have seen a lot of students fainting, or students feeling dizzy if they stand for a longer period of time. It's not only students, even the adults, if they stand for a longer period of time, they tend to get dizzy, they tend to get, tired. So it's very important that the assembly should not last more than 15-20 minutes. Especially when you're doing assembly for the smaller kids. It's very important that you keep it very short. Make sure that the loudspeakers are not right in front of the students, because it can damage their hearing, and it should be away from the students, and it should not be in the direct path and facing towards the students. It's always good that if you can have two separate assemblies for a smaller kids, smaller junior students, as well as for the separate for the senior students, because some of the themes are all, if you use some kind of themes and all, it may not be relevant to the smaller grade students, or some of the themes which may not be relevant to the higher grade students. So it's always advisable that you have two separate assemblies, one for junior and another one for senior students. Needless to say that you should always be ready for the medical emergencies. Since assembly is a large gathering, like we discussed, it is very important that you manage the crowd accordingly. There has to be a pre-described pathway, I would say, how do you enter and how do you exit. In absence of that, it can create chaos and could lead to stampede also, because the students will start running everywhere. They'll start going towards their classrooms from different directions, and that has to be avoided at any cost. You can even use assembly to do quick hygiene check. You can assign teachers who can do the hygiene check, during the assembly when the students are going towards their class. So like I said, assembly is something which is very important, which is the shortest event in a school, which is recurring almost every day. It happens in most of the schools. The other event, which is one of the biggest sporting events in the school, which normally happens once in a year, is the annual sports day. This is the most awaited events in any school, and this is a huge event where the entire school is involved. The management, the teachers, teaching staff, non-teaching staff, parents, the vendors, everyone is involved to make this event a grand success. Annual Sports Day is very important for a lot of reasons. It can be used to showcase talent. Sports Day can be used for mass participation, wherein all the students can participate, unlike a tournament where a handful of students are playing. Sports Day is something that a huge number of students can participate at once. Sports Day can also be utilized to showcase the work of physical education department, because during this day the entire physical education department is involved along with all the teachers, and in fact all the teachers, the supporting staff, everybody is supporting the physical education department to make this annual sports day a grand success. It can also be utilized for mass interaction, I would say. The parents are there, the community people are there, the media personnel are there. So this is the best opportunity, for the school to showcase their infrastructure, the sporting culture. Sports Day is a time where famous personalities can be invited as a chief guest. They can interact with students, they can share their experiences and encourage students to take up sports and physical education. So, like we discussed, there are 3 stages of any plan: preparation stage, event day, and the post-event day. So, when planning for a sports day also, you need to follow these 3 steps or 3 stages: preparation stage, during the sports day, and post-sports day. Let's discuss preparation phase first. Once the date of the sports day is finalized, now you need to assign tasks. Preparation for sports day starts at least a month prior to the event. Once the program is finalized, the preparation kicks off from there. There could be different roles, different tasks assigned to different functions at the school. Right from finance department to the teaching and the non-teaching department, all are involved. to make a sports day a grand success. Typically during the preparation phase, one needs to follow these 3 steps. 1. Setting up the agenda for the sports day. One needs to set the entire agenda for the entire duration of the sports day. 2 is assigning duties. As I mentioned, the entire school is involved in sports day preparation and for the sports day. So you need to assign duties for different teachers and teaching and non-teaching staff and physical education teachers as well. The third very important thing is to identify first the chief guest and invite chief guest, and also send invitations to the parents. A typical agenda for the sports day looks like this. If you see, the sports day starts at 8:50 in the morning, which is the assembly time, and ends at 12:30. So you need to have a flow from 8:30 to 3:30 or 8:50 to 3:30. The entire flow is to be time stamped and needs to be defined precisely, right from assembly to the arrival of chief guest, to the welcome speech, the lighting of the flame, sports day declaration by the chief guest, right till the the dismissal or the end of the sports day. It has to be defined and it has to be time stamped. This is called the agenda for the sports day. So let us discuss the different duties during the preparation phase, or the different tasks needed to be done during the preparation phase. One needs to prepare students for various mass drills and displays. Typically this is done at least a month in advance, because mass drill or mass display are something a group of students, a lot of students doing together. So this requires a lot of practice. This is done with the help of different school academic teachers as well. It's not only the the role of a PE teacher to train on mass drill. Definitely the PE teacher will lead, but it is always important that other academic teachers are also involved in maintaining the discipline or helping students grasp the entire display or the mass drill, how it is supposed to be performed during the sports day. It is very important that you assign specific time for this practice. Most of the schools actually allocate a period called zero period, which is the end of the the last period, and during that zero period they do this practice for the sports day or the mass drill or the mass displays. The other activities apart from mass displays are the the competitive events or the different races and all during the sports day. It is important that all the students are given chance to perform, but not all will be able to compete during the sports day. So it is important that you have a selection trials, okay, wherein students from different house or different groups, they can have a heats, we call it, or the selection trials, and the selected ones will perform on the final day of the sports day, on this sports day. So this also needs to be done prior to sports day. The heats or the selection trials need to complete, and the finalists, those will be finally performing or competing in the race or the the sporting activity, are ready. It requires a lot of things to make a sports day success. Okay, it's not only the equipment required on the ground, it is the entire setup, the shamianas that you put, the PA system, different arrangements that you need to do, purchase of medals and trophies, the facilities. All these things are to be planned well in advance, and you need to allocate different departments or a different group of people or the teachers for this the facility management. You of course need a master of ceremony, we call it. You can assign 1 or 2 teachers, those are good public speakers, I would say, who can help announce and help keep a track of the flow of the event. Last but not the least is ensure that the invitation is sent to all the parents and all the dignitaries that you wish to invite for the sports day. Like I mentioned, mass drills or display needs to start at least a month prior to the actual event day. So a zero period is created wherein students come, the entire school comes and they practice march past, mass display and other the activities that are expected to be performed during the sports day. These are some of the examples of the mass display or the mass drills. I am sure there are plenty, but these are some the most important, or I would say the common the drills or the displays, like parachute drill, right, and dumbbell drill, ribbon drills, Zumba, yoga. This all requires a lot of practice. So involvement of all the teachers, prior practice, allocation of time for the practice is very important. Here is an example of some of the fun races, I would say, or the competitive races for the age group of 3 to 6 years. It can be as simple as just walking from one place to another place for these kids. Right. So these are some of the examples of the races that can be performed by smaller kids, the age of 3 to 6 years old. These are the races or the competitive events up to the age of 11, from 7 to 11. Like we discussed in our planning session, that activities needs to be age appropriate. So even the races and competitions needs to be age appropriate. Sack race is the most popular competitive event in a sports day, followed by sprint races and all. So these are the activities which students can do. These are the activities that can be extended to parents as well. The parents can also have fun during the sports day. So you can conduct an impromptu, in fact, race, invite some of the parents on the ground and can do some of these fun competitive activities for them as well. So checklist plays an important role in order to ensure that the event is executed or the activity is executed the way it is expected. This is a sample checklist. You can make your own, or you can create something specific to the task in hand, but it is very important that you must have a checklist, okay, and you must refer to checklist prior to the event day and also during the event day, before the event starts. This ensures that you have not forgotten anything, everything is in place, and there is no last minute surprises. So there are checklists specific to the task also, or the activity. For example, for a march past, it's very important that you must have proper ground marking, drums and sticks are ready and it's adequately available, house flags or house placards are ready, right, and available. Then the flag stands are there where after the march past you go and put the flag, right. Similarly, for the specific tasks, or the specific the action point in the agenda, okay, you need to have a checklist. Yeah, for facility arrangement as well. So you have specific tasks or the specific duties performed by different people, right, but you are ensuring with the help of this checklist that all these are in place and nothing is missed out. So the sports day is not over till it's over. There are lots of other tasks also required post sports day. So the post event tasks include, very important is props collection. Some of the props or equipment are utilized only once in a year during sports day. So it's very important that you keep them back to their designated place safely and securely after cleaning them, so that in the next year you can reuse them. Some of the props and equipment are borrowed from outside, so you send them back from where you have borrowed, right. And it's very important that you clean up the area, the place, the ground is clean and ready to be used for the regular PE sessions also. Handover of different props, like I discussed, the borrowed and rented props needs to go back to their the place where you have borrowed them from, right. Another good practice post any event, in fact not only sports day, is to create a report, the event report. Report could contain the highlights of the events, some of the learnings during the events, some of the things that you should continue to do, some of the things that you should not do in the next event, right. You create a report, put some pictures, talk about the winners, talk about the things that went really well, and document it, and give it to school heads, principal, or could be given it to management or to different functions in the the school as well. Like I mentioned, in an annual sports day, every department is involved. So accounts department are involved, in procurement or renting. So it's very important that you settle the accounts. You as a PE teacher, it is your duty to ensure that the accounts are settled. Wherever you have borrowed or rented the props or equipment or different recommend shamiyanas and all, the accounts are settled there, and there is a proper documentation of this, right. Last but not the least is you call for a team meeting. Like I mentioned, this is the best time to showcase the hard work of a physical education department. So this is the time after the event you bring in everyone and you discuss, you provide feedback, you learn from the good things that you have done, and learn from the the challenges you faced or things that did not go well, and you discuss among your team members. Also provide feedback to different department. It could be teaching department, it could be non-teaching department, or ask for the feedback from these departments, so that you can have a fantastic sports day next year again, so that you learn from some of the things that did not go well during this sports day. So we have understood how do we plan and execute the entire sports day in a school. The other very important event or the events in a school is intramural tournaments and extramural tournaments. So these are the sporting tournaments, unlike sports day where you do a lot of displays and mass drills and all. Intramural and extramural are basically sports specific tournaments. So let us understand these two in detail. So like the name suggests, intramural means it is a tournament, a sports competition between the teams of the students from the same institution. So it is inside the institution, the same students are participating with each other. It could be inter-house tournament, it could be inter-class tournament. It could be different sports, it could be indoor sports, it could be outdoor sports, it could be fitness competitions. But the participants in this tournament or the competition are all from the school, same school. It is not the other school students are coming or outsiders are coming and participating. You as a PE teacher, if you are to organize intramural, these are some of the things that you need to keep in mind, like the tournament format. You need to plan accordingly, whether the tournament is knockout or a league tournament. The other one is the venue. Where are we going to conduct the tournament? The school with a good infrastructure and all can have multiple playing area, whether you want to do it in one specific field or you want to divide that field into different sections and do it. That is something you need to plan in advance. The date and timelines of the tournament, if you remember the yearly calendar, which is already fixed, you have already decided the dates and timelines, you need to reconfirm that, whether you will be able to do it on the same day or not. There could be different types of challenges at times, there could be bad weather, there could be the rainy season. Normally you don't plan during those the seasons, but if in case anything uncertain arises, then you accordingly change your dates or adjust the tournament duration or the dates as well, right. The other very important thing is the number of the teams participating. If it is an inter-house, is it age specific tournament, it's a junior level or the high school or primary level. So this is something that you need to upfront plan, get it approved by the school management, and prepare your fixture and the tournament schedule accordingly. Very important is number of resources available, right. The total number of people needed to organize the tournament. Just like in sports day, you need a lot of support to organize intramural tournament as well. You need support from groundsmen, you need support from teaching staff, non-teaching staff. So you need to identify these people required in order to successfully do the tournament, conduct the tournament. Like I mentioned in the earlier chapter, that all events or tournaments have three different stages, right? Preparation stage, tournament stage, and post-tournament stage, right. And you being a PE teacher, if it's an intramural tournament, you need to get involved in all these three. In fact, you are the organizer in a way. You lead, just like in sports day you were leading, other teachers and other faculties or other teaching and non-teaching staff were supporting you. Here also you lead the structure, you lead the preparation, tournament day and post-tournament day planning. Okay, these are some of the action points that you need to do during all these three stages. The preparation phase, since it's an intramural tournament, so you need to have a team selection in place, right. The team should be upfront selected, the team should be made, and they should practice for some time before the tournament. If there is an inter-house tournament, you may want to discuss with the house masters and help them formulate the team, practice sessions and all. Definitely the PE teachers will be doing the practice, the coaches and all will be helping with the the everyday training, but the house masters and all should also be informed about the team and how the team is doing, or if there are any challenges you are facing with identifying the different time slots for the team practice. All these things needs to be discussed with the house masters as well, if it's a inter-house tournament. If it's an inter-class tournament, again the teachers, the academic teachers should also be informed about the upcoming tournament, and if there is any relaxations required for the students of a specific class to go and practice before school or after school. So you need to work in accordance with the timetable. You need to bring in this class teachers also, the house masters also, in order to during the preparation phase, I would say, right. So prepare a fixture upfront, prepare the fixture, put it on a notice board, get it approved first of all from the school management, put it in a notice board, share it in your the medium that you share other information in the school. You should also ensure that in the ground or the courts are ready. If you are doing it in a ground, right, ground should be free of any hazard, it should be safe to play. Court, the same thing, right, it should be ready. The ground markings and all should be done properly, court markings and all should be done properly prior to the start of the tournament. Procurement of trophies and medals and all, again, certificates and all, this needs to get procured upfront for the winners and the runners up and all. And yeah, the roles and responsibilities needs to be again done upfront before the tournament. Teaching staff, non-teaching staff, support required for all this, it should be clear and it should be predefined. During the tournament, the officials need to be identified, right? Intra-school tournament also these days, you bring in external officials, the school teachers or the school PE teachers. Normally they don't officiate in order to keep it neutral, because you already know the students, and at times you also belong to some house, and so in order to keep it neutral, you may want to bring in officials from outside as well. Of course, the students or the students leaders can also help with some of the officiating, the non-technical required kind of work. They can be a part of the official team, and also volunteers can also be involved from the school. But it is always advisable, you bring in officials from outside. If there are any ceremonies and all, intramural ceremony, before the start of the intramural also, you may want to have some kind of, the display or a dance, something like that. You can involve, your activity teachers, dance teachers, music teachers and all, and then prepare accordingly. If there are any speeches to be given, upfront it is decided, and who is going to do this, and when is it going to happen. So this is during the tournament time, you are clear about the flow of the tournament, right? Yeah, then the prize distribution and all, you may want to call principal, the directors, or even external guests for the prize distribution. Yeah. Then the post tournament duties, it's more of a winding up, just like any other event, right? You would also like to get feedback about the tournament, right? And if there are any learnings that you would wish to learn from this tournament, then you better in the next tournament. Settling of accounts, mostly because of the procurement is involved, right? And you may want to settle all the accounts and close the tournament. It is advisable that you create a tournament report again, bring in all the learnings, name of the winners, everything that the highlights of the tournament, and prepare a report. It's always good to have a report and close the entire tournament. This is intramural. Extramural basically is an inter-school tournament wherein you go outside your school and you play with other teams, right? Or you participated in external tournaments or competitions. We discussed in the previous session during the planning also that how do you plan for the tournaments. There we discussed there are different types of tournaments a school can participate in depending on the board. If you are from CBSE board, there are lots of CBSE level tournaments that happens throughout the year, and you can participate in these tournaments. If you are from a different board, right, if you are from state board, there are different state board competitions available wherein you can participate. There are Khelo India games now, Khelo India school games. That is a great opportunity for students to showcase talent and even get picked up, even get selected for the nationals, and even the international tournaments and all. Yeah, and there are open tournaments also, locally organized, inter-school tournaments organized by the local organizations, other associations, even federations and all. These are also the tournaments you can participate, you can give exposure to the students throughout the year. The stages of even extramural tournament remains the same, okay, preparation tournament and post tournament. But here during the preparation stage, I would say, unlike intramural, wherein you lead the entire tournament, you actually organize the tournament. In extramural or inter-school tournaments and all, you are actually the participating team. So you may not be involved in ground preparation or a procurement and all, but you will be involved in preparing your team for the tournament. So the preparation phase includes team selection in all categories, depending on which category you are participating. And if you are participating in CBSE level football tournament, are there under 16 tournaments or 13 tournaments? Are there other tournaments? Depending on that tournament, you select the teams. Is it a the girls tournament or a boys tournament, right? Depending on that, you upfront make a team and you do the team selection also, category wise and gender wise. The other very important thing during the preparation time is to register the team. So the registration opens normally a few weeks before the tournament begins. If you are a CBSE school, the CBSE board opens that registration. You need to register the entire your school, the list of your players. Some of the tournaments require to be a nominal the entry fee as well, right? So that's the registration, and unless the registration is done, you are not confirmed as a participating team. So it's very important that you stick to the timelines. It's very important you keep yourself updated with the tournament so that you don't miss on important dates. Uniform and jersey readiness. This is, yes, I mean, as a PE teacher, you are responsible to get all the kits ready, especially the uniforms and jerseys ready. You will always want to showcase your team in the best outfit possible, right? So the jerseys, the uniforms and all, whichever they're going to wear during the tournament, should be ready, should be good looking, I would say clean, right? The logo should be pronounced, school name should be there. So if there is any procurement and all needs to be done for this, it should be done well in advance. It should not be that the tournament day you are running here and there collecting uniforms and all, right? Understanding the competition schedule is also very important, because you are a participating team. The tournament, if it is happening in your own town nearby, well and good, it doesn't get that hectic, right? But if the tournament is in another city or another state, right, so you need to know exact dates of your the match day or the tournament, the duration, and you need to prepare accordingly. So like I mentioned, if the students are going outside especially, you need to get a parent consent also, right? It has to be sent through the school. Parents should give the consent for their the kids to participate in these tournaments, right? Travel finalization, bookings, permissions and all. Again, if it's a long distance, then you need to do the bookings in advance, whether it's by bus, by train or by flight, depending on the budget of the school as well, right? You decide on the the travel mode. So it should be done well in advance, and all should be communicated and documented well. Should be communicated to the school, should be communicated to the parents. It is always advisable that you are accompanied by not only the PE teacher, but somebody from the teaching academic the faculties as well, especially if the girls team are traveling. There is no question of not taking any female PT teacher or the subject teacher along with. Tournament day, again, you are a visiting team, so you must report on time, right? In fact, a day before, if you are participating in outside tournament, which is outside of your hometown or outside the state, right, you should reach at least a day before the tournament, so that the students can get the players can get enough rest and they can participate, right? Cross check on again the team readiness, which could be injury, sickness. Students were not injured yesterday, right? While traveling they could have got injured, right? They could develop some sickness and all. So it's very important that you discuss these things, understand the students are ready to, your players are ready to participate in the tournament or not. If there is any indication of ill health or any indication of uneasiness, right, you must stop, and they should not play at all. Of course, you'll have enough substitution players also. Not always the entire team gets sick, right? So you'll always have a substitution player who will replace the injured or the sick. But it's always important that even if it's even if the player who is sick or injured is your best player, okay, it is always advisable for the benefit of the the students only, that they need not play while they are injured or while they are sick. Post tournament is definitely you come back, you report to school, and hopefully you report to school with a winning trophy, or your students getting selected in different state level, zonal level or national level, right. That's the best thing. In fact, that's the achievement, one of the achievements as a PE teacher or a coach also. When you go out on a tournament, right, or you participate in any tournament, your school or your students win some prizes, right. This is also one of the this could be one of the goals of having a PE department. The school who doesn't want to be showcased as the winner of specific tournaments. So this adds a lot of brownie points, I would say, to your career also. You can proudly say that my team won this level CVSC tournament, or this level this tournament. So it's very important that you prepare well for the tournament. So we discussed about intramural, and we discussed about inter-school or extramural, right. This is something that is supposed to happen prior to that. So it is very important that your school team building, I would say, preparing a team for a specific sport is aligned to the goals of this institution, of your school, right. So school may want to win medals in basketball, but you start preparing in a football team, right. At the end of the day, then the manager will come and ask you, that's not what we want to do. So it's very important that you understand the priority sports in specific school or specific region, right. I mean, needless to say, if you go to northeast, far northeast, some contact games are very popular, right. So the football, for example, everybody wants to play football, right. If you go to maybe the coastal area like Kerala, and although football is also very popular, but volleyball is quite popular. So schools also choose their sport, one depending on the popularity, right. The other one is depending on the infrastructure available in the school also, right. Yes, suppose if you like tennis, lawn tennis, and and there's no lawn tennis court in the school, but you start preparing for the tennis, right. So there is a mismatch between school goals, goal of the school, the infrastructure available in the school, and and the team that you are building. So there should not be any mismatch. It should be absolutely clear about what do you want to prepare the team for, and what is the priority in the school, for the school, right. Other important part is for starting with you and your team members should possess the specialization required for that specific sport, right. If I'm a footballer, right, I should be teaching football, right. I should not be building a team in cricket, though even if I can play, but it's always advisable that that you are an expert in that sport, or you are specialized in that sport, the sport that you are teaching students, or the sport in which you are building the team. You may want to go back to the past history, the achievements of the school also. Our school could have excelled for years in a specific sport, right, and you may want to continue that legacy, right. So again, it's very important that you understand the history of the school, the achievements of the school, and to continue that legacy, you identify the same sport, and you continue building the team for the same sport, right. Again, depending on the types of school, you are required to build the boys team or the girls team, right, or a mixed gender team. The only sport I can remember, the only sport I think where the mixed gender participates, girls and boys play together, is I think frisbee. So could be frisbee tournament also, wherein you will mix boys and girls together and make a team, right. Otherwise, like I mentioned in previous session, right, you need to have different age group categories of your school team. At the same time, gender specific also, boys team, girls team, Yeah. Yeah, you need to understand the different levels, the students level in different sports. Like some of the students are already playing or participating, outside of the schools. Some of the students are going in, the high-end academies, suppose, or taking special coaching from outside. These are the students you may want to include in your team and should be a part of the, school team. Yeah, we discussed about the popularity in the region. So the team practice or the team building should also revolve around the popular sport. How do we do that? So team building actually is a process. It starts from grassroots, okay, and it goes to the elite at a school level, I would say, right? So basically there are different stages of the team building or the athlete development also we can call it, right? At the base you start with talent detection. Okay, so talent detection is actually you're trying to understand whether the students are talented enough or not, or whether they have the potential to play sport or not, right? And it could be just exposing students to different sport. Right now in talent detection phase you are not going into specific sport. What you may want to do is give ample opportunities, enough opportunities to play multi-sport. So you can introduce students to football, okay, the very basic of football, and they play football, then they play basketball, then they play cricket, and you as a coach or a PE teacher, you make a note of these students. You may want to assess their physical abilities or their generic skills, I would say the sporting skills, their height and weight, physiology, all these things that you may want to assess their psychological, the viewpoint about certain sports. Some students don't want to play contact sports, some students only want to play contact sports, some wants to play non-contact sports, some wants to play combat sports, some wants to play the net sports. Some students are scared of certain sports, right? Some students are scared of water, some students are scared of skating, So if you expose them to multi-sport, okay, so you will be able to understand, and they will also be able to understand what they are good at. Okay, so that is a kind of detection, right? Right now you are not identifying students for a specific sport. So once you have that, you move into the next stage of development, which is more of talent identification. Now that certain students, now you bucket, put students in different buckets. You say that these are the group of students, okay, they want to play outdoor sport, and outdoor sport also they want to play contact sport, okay. So and these are the sports, suppose basketball, football, these are the the contact sports. And some of the students say, you identify during this, the detection phase that, they want to play non-contact sport. They want to just be, away from their opponent and play. Then perhaps, you'll put them into, you'll expose them to, the sport like tennis, right? Badminton, TT, or, the volleyball. So that's how you categorize. So now you are identifying the talent, in a sport type, I would say, still not the sport specific, the sport type, right? And you see the potential for that student to grow in that sport. Okay, so now that you have identified them, you have grouped them, okay, now you move into talent development stage. Okay, now during this stage expose them again to different sport of their choice or of their the type. Now they can be put into specific sport. So student or a group of students, while getting exposed to multiple sport over here, of their type, like the contact sport, for example, okay, in that also now you continuously you assess and you identify some of the students can excel in a specific sport. So from here you actually put them into different sport. you can say that, oh, hey, you can actually play football well, okay, given your physical, proficiency or the skill type, your height, your weight, perhaps you may want to go in football, okay. You may want to go on, track and field, maybe the athletics is something that, you want to, get into, or, swimming or specific sport. So, in this talent development phase now, you will put students into specific sport, and now you give them serious practice for that sport. Right. There are other stages as well, post that there is, talent selection, in a specific sport also, if a student is, identified as a footballer, or he or she can excel in football, now you can give them, different roles in football also, right. The different, could be a striker, can be a goalkeeper, can be a defender, right. That's more of a talent, selection. Right. Above that also, once the talent selection stage is also over, then you would want to place the talent. So, that is called talent placement. But here at a school level, we will discuss, more of talent detection, talent identification and talent development. This is both an art and a science as well. Yeah. So, like we discussed, talent detection is where students are given enough exposure to a variety of sport, and then grouped based on their interest levels and the skill sets required to play the sport of the identified sport. Okay. Talent identification is more of recognizing current participants who are already playing the sport. Like I mentioned, after detection they were, go to the another level and they are already playing that sport. Now they like that sport, specific sport, out of this 20 sport, they have like 3 or 4 sports. Now they are playing that sport, right. And you help them, identify one particular sport which they can, now, start getting serious practice on. So this is one of the examples of, the talent detection stage for football. So students are playing a multiple sport, right, and from that you are identifying whether this student be able to play football or not, whether this student, right, you are still not, putting student into a specialization bucket, right. You are still trying to identify whether that sport or this sport is right for the student or not. How do we do that? In the first month, you can do some kind of, you can have some kind of pointers or some kind of, indications. One could be, the space awareness. This is the contact sport and outdoor sport, right. The one needs to have that spatial awareness, in and around surrounding and your own, personal space and, the general space. So, one of the ways, to understand that space awareness, the basic is to, a student can run around while keeping safe distance between others, right. If a student understands that concept that, a safe distance needs to be kept while playing sport, right, only when there is a technical requirement that you go closer to the opponent or your team member, right. That's the understanding. If the student has it, means there is, a likelihood that the student can play a specific sport, which is football, for example, right. The ball control, right, controls the ball when it comes to him or kicks it away, right. A student is able to control the ball, okay, keep possession of the ball, I would say, okay, or able to kick, right, which is the basic for, starting to play football. Use of foot, can use both the feet, right, though there will always be a preferred, foot, right, but it's always, good, or it's required in fact to use both the feet, to at least, move around with the ball, pass the ball, if not, kick accurately with both the feet. Okay. And sense of direction, just like, space awareness, students is able to, dribble the ball from one end to the other end of the field, right. Students should understand that, I need to take the ball from one end to the other end. So, he or she has the sense of direction, which side to move. Okay. And contact with the ball, the student or the player makes contact with the ball with different parts of the foot, inside, outside, right. It's not only the student is always using toe only, right, or only one part of the foot or feet. The student is able to make contact with, the different parts of the foot, right, or the feet. Then the passing ability, right, can pass the ball to the teammate, right? A student can pass it when they see the teammates. That's also one of the indications, right? Shooting, can take a shot towards the goal, at least a student is able to shoot the ball towards the goal, right? And endurance, which is football requires endurance, a longer period of play time. So endurance is very important, right? And can continuously play for at least an hour, right? So this is the basic the indicators, I would say, in order to identify somebody to a specific sport, in order to identify whether a child can play this sport or not, right? Again, you are not selecting the student for the football only, right? But one of the sports could be football, right, for that student, and this is the indication to check that. This is the the assessment, and this is done basically in the talent detection phase. Talent identification phase is once you do more of talent detection, mostly after 3 months of doing talent detection, right? Now you again go back to the same parameters, okay, but it will be slightly advanced than the talent detection. Now you go slightly specific to that sport, because you need to identify whether that student can play that sport well or not. The earlier was the student can just play the sport or not. If these the parameters are tick marked, the student can play, right? Here now you're getting into, can a student adapt to that sport? Can a student has the potential to excel in that sport? So how do you do that? The assessment is, you check again with the ball control, right? Is able to juggle the ball continuously for 5 to 10 times with both feet. Now you're getting into the the technical side of it. Can a student juggle the ball, right? 5 attempts, this number can go up also, this number can go down also. But the idea is, can a student juggle the ball, right? Dribbling, can keep the ball close to the foot while dribbling in different directions. Earlier it was just moving from one place to another. The sense of direction is something that we checked during the sense of direction that we checked during the talent detection phase. Here now we are getting specific. Okay, if you have the sense of direction, yes, you can play football, but if you can dribble the ball, okay, close to yourself and can move into different directions, that means now you have the potential to do good in football, right? So same is passing, can pass with accuracy to the teammate using inside of the foot, right? Mostly the basic, the inside of the foot one can use and pass accurately. Earlier in talent detection it was just passing, whether a student can pass or not. Here the accuracy comes into play, right? The student can pass accurately or not. Attacking, right, can beat an opponent in a 1v1 situation. So when you are dribbling or when you are attacking, can you beat, if a student is able to do that, that's a sign that the student can excel in a specific sport, which is football. Here defending, same, can distribute the opponent and recover the ball, can disturb the opponent and recover the ball when the opponent has the ball in possession, right? So defending is basically the snatching the ball from the opponent. Can see it's, as a footballer, it's not only attacking or passing, right? You need to defend as well, regardless of your role. Okay, so this is also one of the indications that whether you understand the concept of defending or not, whether you are able to defend the ball or not. Kicking, again, can kick the ball on the ground level and also in the air to do long passes, right? So earlier it was just about kicking, talent detection, right? Now you're talking about can a student drive the ball up in the air, right, or on the ground. Okay, so there are different levels of the kicking the ball or the passing the ball to a distant teammate. Shooting, again, another parameter, can shoot at the goal with some force and accuracy, right? Can a student shoot the ball with some force and accuracy towards the goal. And then the sprint, can sprint for minimum 15 meters with quick change in direction, right? Football requires that kind of the change in direction at a the speed. So can a student change the direction quickly, minimum of 10 to 15 meters. So if that indication is there, the student can excel or has the potential to play that sport. Endurance, again, can jog or run at least for an hour continuously, right? So this phase can last for 3 months. Okay, at least 3 months of, after 3 months, I would say, after talent detection, 3 months, then you do this, post this, when you identified student, okay, he or she has the potential to play that sport. Now you move into the specific of that sport, right? You teach that student, the entire week can look like this, right? So suppose from Monday to Saturday, this is just the indicative. This can change depending on the level of students, right? Your students are the age category as well, and the gender specific as well. Okay, so this looks like the talent development plan for the week, right? And this needs to be replicated every week. Yeah, so this is the entire training session, okay, for the day. So Monday, for example, you do the warm-up session, then you aerobic fitness, then you do strength and power development exercises, then you technical drills, then you do tactical formations for individual practice and all you do. Then of course you apply these skills in a match play situation, which is the match practice or a small sided modified games and all you do. Then cool down session, right? You normally don't do strength or power development throughout the week. So it is again depending on the level of the students, right, depending on the gender, age group and all, you decide this. This is just indicative. Okay, this cannot be copy pasted. You cannot say that this will work, this could work in one, the group of students could not work, but this is something which will give you a fair idea of how do we plan for talent development specific to football. Yeah, like I mentioned, some of the practice sessions are not applicable to all age group. Similarly, for example, in football, for under 10, under 13 or under 16, some of the skills to be covered are, what it is, less technical, some could be. So these are the indicative skills, that you need to cover for different age groups, right? Mostly it's the same. It's just that, for under 10, maybe you may not want to cover right away, the moves, different moves, the attacking, defending moves and all. They will develop later, they should understand, they should play different sport, I mean different positions, then they'll move to, specific. So at the age, the under 16 and all, you cover everything, right? Yeah, so this is for football. The similar structure can be applied for different sport, and this is not only specific to football. Similar structure, right? Talent detection could be, for any sport. So to give you an example, if we are to do it for basketball, for example, right, the same structure is applicable. Again, you expose student to multi-sport, right? So they play different sport. From that sport, you try to identify, the students, if they can play basketball or not. If yes, then put them into basketball. At the same time, they play other sport also, which is close to basketball, right? Which could be handball, right? Which could be throw ball again, which could be volleyball, right? Which requires manipulative skills, your hand-eye coordination, the endurance and all. So similar sport you put them into, you group them into similar sport. So for basketball also, the talent detection level is as follows. Again, very important is space awareness. In fact, for every sport, right, you need to have that space awareness, unless you play some indoor sport, like chess, maybe carom and all, that you sit in one place and you play, right? But for other sport, even if it is indoor or outdoor, which requires you to move from one place to another, it's very important that you have the sense of space awareness, right? So in basketball also, at a talent detection level, how do you find a student has a grasp of space awareness or not is, this is one of the indicators, right? A student can run around the court while keeping safe distance between other players. So, a student can run around the court, okay, while keeping safe distance with other players. It could be opponent as well as your the teammates. Ball control holds the ball firmly when passing and receiving. So, a student can hold the ball firmly, is confident enough, comfortable enough, and holds the ball while passing or receiving. Okay, use of hand, like football, one needs to use both the hands, right? The student needs both the hands while dribbling. In fact, in basketball, you are required to use both the hands. Football, you can still, walk away with, using one foot only as a dominant foot, right? But in basketball, it's always important that you use both your hands. Sense of direction, again, able to bounce or dribble the ball in a continuous manner and can dribble from one end to the other while jogging or running. Basketball, again, is a sport, wherein you attack from one place to the another place, where you move from one place to another. When you go to the score points, you go from your side to the opponent's side, right? So it is very important that you student, whoever you are putting them into basketball, the group has the sense of direction, right? Stance in another one, right, is comfortable when holding or dribbling the ball with feet slightly apart, evenly distributing the body weight, right? One is able to balance the body, which is called a proper stance, in basketball. And again, passing, can pass the ball to the teammate, okay, can pass. It's not about the way one should pass or overhead, trick pass, or it's just the passing, because this is at the detection level. Shooting, can take free shots, right? Free shoot, 2-pointers, can at least shoot the ball. Okay. Again, it's not mentioned that should go inside the basket, right? Should be able to shoot the ball. That's it. Endurance, can play continuously for 10 minutes at least. Okay, these numbers again can go up and down depending on the student age group and the level of the players or the students, right? But since basketball has a rolling substitution, at least for 10 minutes you should be able to play, run around, right? So this is at the detection stage. Again, to go back, detection stage is when you give multiple exposure. So you will continue to do assessment for other sport as well, right? But if a student ticks mark, has a tick mark for all this, the parameters, then you may want to put this student to basketball more than putting it to cricket or football, right? That's where the talent identification comes. Again, in talent identification, when you are, identifying student whether the student has a potential to excel or play well in that sport, okay, then you use these parameters, which is a talent identification phase, right, where the ball control now is a slightly technical, everything is a slightly technical as compared to the previous ones. Though the parameters remain the same, the execution intensity goes slightly higher. So here the ball control, if you see, is able to dribble the ball while moving in different directions. If you go back to talent detection, is can run around the court while keeping safe distance between, the ball control, if you go, holds the ball firmly when passing and receiving, holds the ball firmly while passing and receiving. But in talent identification phase, now you are trying to go deeper into that, right, and you are trying to find out whether the student is able to dribble the ball while moving in different directions. The complexity is added. Right. Passing also now can pass with accuracy to the teammate. It has to be an accurate pass. Attacking, attack towards the open space when there is time and space to move forward, right? And this a player or the student is able to attack towards the open space, towards the opponent's half, towards the open space when there is time and space is available. That opportunity, identifying the opportunity to move fast, to move forward, right? That is something that can be assessed. Defending, can disturb the the opponent and recover the ball while opponent has the ball in possession. Again, can a student disturb and force the opponent to make errors and get the possession back for the team. So that's very important, that your understanding of how do you defend, how do you force the opponent to lose possession. Now this is slightly technical than the previous. Earlier it was just defending, it's just standing in front of the opponent. Shooting now can take free shots, right? Two-pointer holding the ball with both hands with some accuracy. Now earlier was only the ability to, talent detection was only the ability to shoot the ball. Now the accuracy also comes into play. You should be able to shoot, but with some accuracy. You should be able to shoot accurately. A sprint is quickly move into or create open space to receive passes, right? So one should be able to sprint quickly, find space, and to for the teammates to pass the ball to you. Endurance again can jog, run continuously for 10 minutes, can play at least continuously for 10 minutes. Yeah, once the student is assessed in this, then the student can be moved into talent development stage, wherein again they will be put into rigorous training for the entire week, and this is replicated throughout the month. Yeah, so there are again the structure of any of the the practice session is always they start with warm up, then you do some kind of fitness activity, then you do strength and power, right, applicable. It's not every day you do that, right? Then technical drills, then tactical drills you do, right, you do, then match practice, of course, right, and there is cool down session. We discussed about how do you build a school team. Okay, in order to build a school team, the easiest way is to ask students which sport do you want to play, right? But that's non-scientific, right, because students may want to play a sport out of interest, right, which is also very important, that you should be interested in a specific sport to play, right, but it should not always be only because of interest that you are selected for the team. So there has to be some science involved in this, right? So this stages of talent development, I would call it, the pyramid from talent detection to identification to talent development, is mostly practiced throughout the world. This is kind of athlete development also, and there are lots of literature about this, long-term athlete development. These are very good reference that you can self-study, and you can understand more about how do you actually build a team, or how do you help an athlete reach from the basic level to the highest level. Yeah, the same can be replicated in different sport, like I mentioned, right? Some could be slightly technical sport, okay, which could require some tweakings, right, but mostly for the popular team sports, this is something that can be easily replicated. So we started with sports day, the events in the school, the important events, the sports day is one of them, intramural, extramural. So summer camp and winter camp are the periods, the holiday time, the break time from the regular practice sessions and all, wherein you may want to introduce students to different sport, or sports specific trainings and all, or some fun games, right? So this won't last for a longer period of time. These are 10 days, 1 week, or a month maximum, kind of the sports training time, which you can do the same that you've been doing throughout the year, okay, and can add some variety, right, or can add some fun sport or new sport as well, right? So if the students are playing basketball, you may want to add frisbee to that, which adds a variety but is a similar kind of sport, right? This is mostly done to engage students in physical activity during the holiday time as well. Right. So we discussed about intramural and extramural, the tournament that can be done inside the school premises, and the tournament that you need to go outside and participate. Yeah, we also touched upon the importance of assembly in school, right, and how you as a PE teacher, you play an important role in organizing, planning, and the entire delivery, execution of assembly on a regular basis, almost daily basis. Yeah, so these are the important events that a PE teacher needs to know. So apart from these, there are other, the tournaments also that come up, the tournaments that we may not have, covered, like, international tournaments and all. If the students are selected, how do you prepare them for that, right? We will do that in the advanced course. We will discuss about more about, the specific talent, sports specific talent development. How do you, take them from one level to the completely different level at the, the highest level possible. School plays an important role, and in school, you as a PE teacher, you play a very important role, in the sporting journey of a child. In order to make a child fall in love with the sport, right, you as a PE teacher, you play very, very important role. So your role is as important as any, the academic teacher's role. So it's very important that, you follow the processes, you understand the, the standards that needs to be maintained, the technicalities of your role in the upcoming sessions. Thank you so much.